Well, the good news is that Kody Brown's attempt to lure Janelle back into the fold isn't going to last, and it didn't work. As I've told you before, Janelle is currently in the process of building a brand new house. Yes, in North Carolina, on the same land that she owns jointly with her daughter and her son-in-law, Caleb. And this last week, Kody told Janelle that he felt like he put her out and left her in harm's way by marrying her and then leaving her with the evil, wicked Meri. Now, he didn't say Meri's name, but we all knew he was talking about Meri, because who else would he have been talking about when he was calling someone unsafe? Kody's favorite person in the family to label as dangerous, erratic, and monstrous is Meri Brown. And when Kody apologized to Janelle for leaving her in an unsafe situation, not having her back, and not giving her the experience she wanted, it looked like for a minute he was going to get her back. Now, Kody doesn't want to be in polygamy. And Kody has stated over and over and over again that he only wants to be with Robyn Brown. Robyn Brown was asked whether or not she would consider what it would be if one of the women would come back, and if they would reconcile. And it was clear she did not want them to come back. Janelle was confused because Janelle was like, "Why are you apologizing to me, Kody? I don't get this. It's been all these years later, and are you trying to get back together with me? You're putting it on real thick, bro." Okay. And fans were like, "What the heck, Janelle? Like what? Why are you taking this man's apology? Why aren't you pushing back a little bit? Why aren't you actually sticking up for your kids?" Now, some of you have noticed that emotionally speaking, she probably doesn't have the bandwidth to have these arguments because she's grieving the loss of her son and trying to find some sort of normalcy after loss, which can make people vulnerable and not want to fight. Either way, a lot of people were afraid, is she going to go back to Kody? Well, the answer is a strong no. Even though this next week, the title of the show is "Should we get back together?" or something like that. And Janelle talks about the option, the chance of getting back with Kody. But I don't think this was more than just a passing thought. Truthfully, understanding how the Sister Wives Network TV channel TLC loves to edit, they love to make us think something is that it's not. Now, Janelle having a talk with a friend and saying, "Well, maybe I've thought about it. Maybe I debated it." Fleeting thoughts of reunion with an ex wouldn't be the first time or the last time someone a thought that someone would have. Doesn't mean you actually do. It's sometimes you can be around the guy that was your ick the ick, and they can say all the right things, and then you get back into your reality and you're like, "Oh yeah, I remembered why I hate them." And it appears that Janelle snaps back out of it relatively quickly. Because by the next episode, when Kody and Meri are supposed to have their conversation, turns out that Janelle consults Meri about getting a spiritual release. So despite Kody's best efforts to confuse her and distract her with his nonsense, she and Meri discuss the process of going through a spiritual release. And supposedly this will be in the episode that's coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, y'all. 2 weeks. They are really going to be stretching this apology for 3 more weeks. In the next 2 weeks, it's all dedicated around Kody meeting up with Christine. And then at the end of December on the 28th is when Kody will actually apologize to Meri. And apparently, Meri's friends are not down with Kody trying to reach out to Meri, and they try to talk her out of actually meeting with him. And I can actually see why her friends would do that, because they know Meri, and they know that Kody can play with her heart, her mind, and he manipulates her. And I think her friends are good people. The one thing I will say about Meri, even though she gets a ton of criticism, you guys, is that a lot of her friends that she talks with are women that have all been in the world of polygamy. And many of them have left. And they are involved in the world of being outside of marriage. And some of them are even champions and help women leave polygamy. And because she has a good network of women around her that are out, that understand what she went through, that are sensitive, and can work through things with her that she can speak to about. She has a good, solid, support system. So maybe Jen doesn't know what it's like, right? Because she's never lived in polygamy, but her other friends did. They either grew up in it or they were multiple wives themselves. And that can seriously be a big difference for someone. And I think in Meri's case, it really, really, really helped a lot because I think Meri had a really hard time getting out of it. She really struggled a lot. And it's kind of ironic that on the show, Kody and Robyn will talk about their church. And I know that they don't go to the church anymore, but Robyn will still view it as her religion. And I find it strange, honestly, that she says this because Someone that is connected to Meri through their husband reached out to me a couple years ago. They're a family member, and they were talking about how right before the show, the leaders of the church really didn't want them to do the show. And apparently on the pulpit, one of the leaders, I think it was Lemoyne Jensen, basically told Kody that the going on the show was like he got a direct message from God, that going on the show was like going to ruin his family, that Kody was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And he believed that it would be the end of his family and that he did this in front of like the entire church. And I think Christine mentioned this in her book, although she didn't say what he said. And this person was there when it happened. And so they like repeat it to me. And another thing they said was that really the church cut total ties with them once the show went on air. And once the show started exposing some of the things about the interactions in the family that they viewed problematic and that didn't show polygamy in a good light, and they didn't really say what those things were, right? That caused the church to be like, oh, I don't want to be connected with this. And who knows? But apparently, they didn't think that the show was a good picture of polygamy and that it would even cause more people to not like them. Go figure. Even though Kody and the family have said for years they felt like they helped people, the church saw it as the opposite. But either way, there's a lot of people in Meri's life that have helped her get out. So, and now apparently Meri's going to be helping Janelle with obtaining the spiritual release, which I told you a couple weeks ago is a little bit ironic because the leader of the church is a tool and not a good guy in my opinion, Dave Watson, and he's done the same thing to his wife by abandoning them. And there's a whole case. There's a whole thing. So that's what's coming up is that Janelle and Kody are not getting back together. This actually helps provoke and get Meri and Janelle to talk about how Janelle can move forward with the spiritual release, and then Janelle goes ahead and gets the release. Something I did notice too is that apparently when Kody tries to apologize to Christine, there's some serious tension or a little bit of an escalation between Kody and David about the kids and about Kody not stepping up for the kids or his lack of a relationship with the kids. And I think David's concern is a reasonable one. I personally liked David this week talking about the importance of Kody having a relationship with the kids, but that he needs to actually not just say it, but do it. And that thus far, he hasn't been doing a very good job. And what's a little bit strange to me is that I'm not quite sure at what point this apology happened. I don't know if it's like the spring of 2025, I'm thinking, but it would have been around the exact same time that Kody and Christine were going through the mediation process for child support. And so David and Christine's problems with Kody are going to be very different than Janelle or Meri, because he currently has a child that he's not taking care of. And ultimately, the two of them ended up settling, right? So the child support case settled in May of 2025, and they were able to successfully scrub the case from the internet. So they went to the steps of closing the case in the Utah courts. And it's not normal that you can't even search for a case in the state of Utah. So in the state of Utah, child custody and divorce cases, which is their dispute, was described as a divorce/child support paternity case. And you can still search the case, you can put in someone's name and you can see if there's records. I mean, David and his ex-wife prior to her death, the two of them had filed for divorce multiple times from each other. They withdrew all each time, and it's obvious that the two of them were going through a rough patch. And I believe his ex-wife was dealing with, I think his daughter said, addictions to painkillers and alcohol. And so during that period where she was in active addiction, the two of them were going through it, and each one of them filed multiple times, right? He and his late wife were married when she passed away, but you can still search it, and you can see that at least the papers were filed, and all of them included children. And then you can also see that after his wife's death, he became the guardian, and that he adopted a child that his wife had while they were still married, the youngest who is not his actual child. And he adopted that child and took them in as their own. I think that's Maddox. So Maddox is adopted by David, and David is the guy that had, once his wife passed away, he had 8 kids that he needed to raise. Now, some of them were adults when she died, but still. And he then stepped up for a child, Max. That was his wife's blood child and not his, but he still came in and was dad. So David is the guy that literally is there for the kids. Kody is not. And David wasn't going to let Kody get by with just not paying for his share of the child support, because under Utah law and even under Arizona law, he's required. And it's pretty shocking if you consider the fact that while this entire split is happening and the two of them have parted, And you're seeing this all on television? Kody wasn't paying a dime for years. Kody did not start paying child support until last May. And Christine had left in 2021. So for 4 years, Kody paid not 1 cent for his daughter and was profiting millions, buying a $2 million house, fighting with his exes about Coyote Pass. So the problem for Christine and David is much different than Janelle and with Meri because all of their children are adults now. And unfortunately, Janelle never pushed Kody for child support, and she should have when it came to Savannah. And it makes me really sad that she didn't exercise those rights for her daughter or herself at any time. But Christine has. And so supposedly the tenseness that's going to occur here is going to be between Kody and David, and then Meri and Kody. And the apologies aren't going to work long-term at all, because by the end of this season, he's going to be screaming at the tell all about Meri having an affair for the 800,000th time. And he's going to run to his friend Brian and lie about Janelle trying to steal money from Meri. And he's going to cause chaos again. So, it's all fake. It's all a fail. Absolutely zero relationships have healed from this. And I hope that the confrontation between David and Kody is at least somewhat real. And I hope someone is sticking up for Truly. And I'm glad that at least someone is sticking up for Truly because it's not Kody. Kody doesn't get to, in my opinion, run around and say that, he's working on his relationships. He has a daughter who is still young. She is 15 years old when Kody and Christine split up. Truly was like 11 years old, still in middle, still in grade school, and he abandoned her at birth and married another woman. That's Kody Brown. So, the apologies are big fails. And this is why. So, tell me what your ideas are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.